What's going on, people, and welcome back to the new season 2024/25, and this is my Premier League table prediction. Obviously, three new promoted teams, Ipswich, Leicester and Southampton, have all come up, so I'm interested to see how they do. I'll get into the table in a sec. Leicester have got a bit of experience from previous years as a Southampton. And Ipswich haven't been in the Prem since I was growing up in like the 90s, so I'm excited to see how they do. Obviously McKenna, formerly of United as well, so yeah, I'm looking forward to see how the new teams do. I've seen a little bit of Southampton, and I haven't seen anything of Leicester since they last went down, and Ipswich I haven't watched yet, so lots to look forward to with that. Without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to go from bottom to top, from 20th to first place. In my 20th place position, then, I'm going with a newly promoted Southampton. I saw them in the playoff final, predicted them to win it, to be honest, but they didn't look the most attacking. Like, they were clinical when it mattered, but they seem to, in my opinion, lack a bit of firepower. They're a decent team, but I just don't think they've got enough flair and enough goal threat. So I personally feel like it's going to be a long season for them, and I think they'll go straight back down, which is a shame because I do quite like Southampton, but I just don't think they're going to have the quality. So Southampton, 20th place. 19th place then, another newly promoted team, Ipswich. I'm a bit ignorant on them though, haven't watched them at all. Don't really know any of their players. I've heard names but haven't watched them. So obviously McKenna, I know, has done a fantastic job there. And they obviously done fantastically last year. So I'd like to see them out of the three teams that have come up to stay up, because they're the newest and I haven't seen them since like the 90s basically, in the top level. So, but again, I think they've got a bit more flair about them from what I'm hearing than the likes of Southampton and maybe even Leicester. But because they are inexperienced at this level, I think that is going to play a factor. So I'm going to go with Ipswich in 19th place, but I do think that they'll probably give us some entertaining games over the season. 18th place then, the third promoted team. So the bottom three for me are all newly promoted teams. I just think it will go that way this year. And that is obviously Leicester City. Vardy's still there, which I'm surprised about. I thought he'd retire by now. They've got some experience in that side of some players that were there when they got relegated, I believe. But again, similar to Southampton, I don't think they're going to have a ton of goal threat. They probably have the most experience they probably have a bit of experience on their side, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. And Asian Vardy, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at their team recently, so I can't say that I know a bunch of their players who haven't actually checked them out. I don't think we're going to get the Leicester of old, let's put it that way. So I think they'll just miss out, and I think they'll be 17th for me, and I think they'll be 18th for me. So Leicester City 18th. In at number 17, I hope they do better than this, because I did like watching them last season, but at times they did go on some bad runs and it kind of put them in danger, and that is Nottingham Forest. Love Gibbs White, really like what Adoy's doing, really like Alanga and what he's doing there. Chris Wood hit form at certain points last year. Murillo at the back at centre back was really good. So they definitely have the potential and the ability to get a higher place than this. I just worry with injuries. The Wood can hit that form that he did last year for a longer sustained period. Can Gibbs White keep up the numbers? Can Alanga and Adoy chip in enough? I hope so, because I do like watching them. I think they're one of the more exciting teams to watch in the league. So I hope they finish higher than this, but I'm going to go with Forest for 17th. 16th place then, go with West Ham. Kudus, really like him. Bowen, I don't particularly mind. West Ham fans anyway will be expecting a lot of a higher finish, like naturally, but I think they definitely had a lot of struggle last year, and I'm still not convinced that they've got a out-and-out goal scorer there at the moment. So I think they'll stay up, obviously, because they're experienced. They've still got enough experience in that team, but I just think that they're going to lack a bit of pace, a bit of end product at times. I think Kudus and Bowen are going to be their main threats. If Kudus has a fantastic year, they'll be a lot higher, I think. But I'm going to go with West Ham in 16th. 15th place then, I'm going to go with Brighton. The guy that's come in, I've got to be honest, I don't know anything about him. I'm hearing that he plays a similar way to Serby and how Brighton like to play their football on the attacking front foot. But Brighton definitely struggled at times last year, and it was a bit of a fall off, I think, from previous seasons. So I think they're going to struggle a bit again. I don't think they'll struggle to score goals. They're a very attacking team, but defensively they definitely looked questionable quite a lot last year, and I think it will be the same this year. I think they'll score a lot, but I think they'll also concede a lot. But I think they'll do enough to survive. So 15th place, Brighton. 14th, I'm going with Everton. Didn't have a great season last year, but turned it around when it mattered to stay up. I do think they've had a very good buy in that Ndie, or however you pronounce his name, in Dyer. I don't know how you say it, but I've watched him before and I think he looks really good. So I think that's a really good buy for them. Pickford in goal was very experienced, very good fantasy option last year, and he's just a good keeper, I think. So yeah, if he can improve his consistency a little bit more, I think he's going to be bang on it. McNeil can be dangerous there. Garner, I think, is going to get better. Decore can chip in at times. Calvert-Lewin is the problem. They need a bit more of a out-and-out number 9, in my opinion, but they're experienced. I think they'll be eager to improve this season from last, and I think that they will. So I'm going to go with Everton, and I'm going to go 14th. 13th place then, I'm going to go with Brentford. Tony is still there currently, but I don't think he will be very soon. In Buemo, they need to keep if they're going to do anything. Visser, I think, is a very underrated player in the league. I like Frank and what he's doing there, but again, similar to Brighton last year, they definitely went through quite sustained periods of struggle. I know Tony was missing at some points, wasn't always at it when he came back. They had quite a few injuries as well, to be fair. I think they'll do okay. I just don't think it will be as good as when they first came up, and obviously the Tony situation needs to be resolved as soon as possible for everyone's sake. So I think they do okay, but nothing great. Brentford 13th. 12th, I'm going to go with Fulham. If they've actually bought him, I haven't checked today, but I checked last night, and there was rumours that Smith Rowe from Arsenal is going to Fulham for a record fee and record deal. If they get Smith Rowe, it will improve them a lot, I think. He's too good to be not playing at Arsenal. And I think they got a pretty good squad anyway, Fulham. So they've lost Tosin to Chelsea, but they've got the remainder of their players they had from last year. They've managed to keep most of them, as far as I know. Munoz, I think, will have an even better season. I like Harry Wilson as well. Pereira, I think, like I said, they've got a good squad. I think they have a pretty good season. I'm going to go 12th, Fulham. Wolves in at number 11. Neto, Cunha, Hwang. I think them front three can be a problem for anyone on their day. Obviously, they've lost their captain Kilman to West Ham, but I think that they'll have enough to cope with him leaving. But obviously, if it's your captain leaving, it could be a different matter. But I think they'll be okay. I like what Gary O'Neill's doing. I just think they need to score a few more goals in certain games. So I think they have a pretty good season. Hopefully they get higher than this, because I would like to see them do a bit better and maybe grab like a conference or something like that. But I think they do okay. They had quite a lot of injuries last year, which hampered them. If they can keep most of their players fit, especially the front three, I think they do pretty good. So Wolves 11th place. Getting into the top 10 then, 10th place I'm going with Bournemouth. Areola, what he did there last season, I think was tremendous. I don't think he got the credit he should have. Solanke, for certain sections of the season, was on fire. Kluivert really stepped up at points. Semenyo, I thought, was very good. I think they'll just build on that this season, and I think that they could be another one that could potentially push for Conference Europa, in my opinion. If they can sort of mirror what they did last season and a little bit longer. I think they have a good season again. They got a good bunch of players there. They know his system. They know how he wants them to play. Be on the front foot a lot. And I think they're one of the better teams in the league to watch. Bournemouth, I think, will have a decent season, 10th place. 9th place, I've gone with Chelsea. Was a bit sticky and weren't sure where to put Chelsea, because on their day, they can be a problem for anyone. Defensively, they're not great. Cole Palmer, though, was on fire last year, and I think he will do that again this season. Sterling, I think, needs to step up again, though. Mudryk as well. Jackson, I think, will probably have a better season this year. Now he's more used to the league. And if he can chip in with goals as well. I know he had a pretty good chip in last season with goals, but I think if he can add a few more this season, and the link-up he offers, I think that they could improve. I just Chelsea I'm just very unsure with, because you never know what you're going to get with them. And I'm shocked that they got rid of Pochettino. Obviously got Maresca in. It's a new thing. It's a change. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm going to give faith and get them in the top 10. 9th place, Chelsea. 8th place then, I've gone with Crystal Palace. Obviously they've lost Elise, which I'm gutted with. Even if he'd have left like he did, I would have preferred he'd stayed in England, because I loved watching him. Obviously, I can't blame him. He's gone to a massive club in Germany, in Bayern Munich, but just from a selfish point of view, a fan, neutral point of view, I loved watching him. I think it probably will help Palace in certain ways for Eze to be the main man now. Teta, if he can continue his form from last season, the sort of second half of the season there, they're going to have a good season. I really like what Glasner's done as well since he's came in. I think they'll have a good season again. It's just whether or not they can get enough goals, which I think they will. It's going to rely on Eze and Mateta. 7th place, I've gone with Newcastle. If Isak can stay injury-free for most of the season, then that really helps them straight away. Obviously, Callum Wilson is another one. Even if he can stay a little bit fitter than he did last year and don't miss like so many games as he did. It's obviously been a problem through his career, because I think he's one of the most natural finishers in the league. So I'm a big fan of Callum Wilson. It's just his fitness worries and issues. So if he can stay fit, Isak really do some damage. Pope will be back obviously as well, which will help them. So I think they'll have a pretty good season, but Howe probably want higher than 7th. They're going to struggle for consistency at times. So 7th place, Newcastle. 6th place, I've gone with Tottenham. Weird one to kind of know what you're going to get with them. They can be very good on their day, then other days they just don't turn up. They've definitely got a quality squad, but like I said, it's whether or not on the day that they feel like they want to play or not, because I feel like too many times last year, big names were going missing in games when they probably shouldn't have, even Son. So they need consistency, getting off to a good start, but then maintaining it is their issue, because they've done it for a few seasons where they start pretty well, but they can't keep their foot on the gas. They're a hard one to predict. They're always in and around the kind of top 5, top 6. I'm going to go 6. Top 5 then. Aston Villa for me in 5th. Had a tremendous season last year. Obviously they're going to be in the Champions League this year, which might even push them lower than 5th, but I'm going to keep faith. I think Emery is a fantastic coach. Watkins had a pretty good Euros, considering he only come off the bench a few times. He got a goal. No, Diaby's gone, but they've got Bailey, who was terrific at times last year. They have lost Douglas Luiz, which I think will be a big loss, but I still think they've got enough quality in that team as a whole squad to do pretty well. So I think they're going to do a good season again, slightly off of what they did last year, but I'm going to go 5th, Aston Villa. A lot of it is going to come down to how they can keep their players fit with these extra games with the Champions League. 4th place then, I've gone with my team, Manchester United. I was tempted to put them 3rd, but in my head, I went with my head more than my heart in the end. See, we've brought some new players in. It's the consistency with us as well. We need to close out certain games that we don't always do. Højlund needs to get a few more goals than he did. He did go on a good run last year, but we need him to do that a bit more. Rashford, if he's staying, needs to chip in a bit more, I think. Garnacho I have no complaints about. I hope to see a lot more of Diallo this year, because I really am a big fan of him, but he just hasn't been getting the minutes. But he's been featuring a bit the end of the season and kind of pre-season, so I hope Diallo gets enough minutes this year. He's one I'd like to see a lot more of. Police Street. I've only seen highlights of one game for Yeni Laura, I don't know how to say his name, but I've seen him in one game and just like quick highlights, but he looked very good from what I saw. I'd heard of the name before but never watched him. So him coming in at centre-back I think is exciting, but he's still pretty young, so I have to be patient, but he looks very promising. Certain players we've kept that still worry me, so I do think it's going to be a similar thing of we'll probably win games people don't expect us to at times, but then lose games that people really think should be a foregone conclusion before the whistle even starts to start a game. So hopefully we get a bit more consistent this year and the new signings do well. 3rd place then, I've gone with Liverpool. I don't know a ton about the manager. I haven't watched them in the pre-season yet. I know that they won yesterday against Real Betis 1-0. I don't think Salah had a great season last year. I know a lot of people think he did, but I don't think he did. I think Elliott looked very promising, so I'm hoping to see a bit more of him this year. Darwin Núñez is the big one for me. He needs to have a lot more consistency in front of goal and convert a lot more chances than he did last year, and that'll be a main detail and factor in where they finish in the league, because he gets so many opportunities because he's quick and he does time his runs well, but his finishing is just not up to what he should be, in my opinion. And this is from someone that liked him at Benfica. I think a lot of it is going to come down to Darwin Núñez and his form. I like Diaz as well. He struggled with a bit of injury last year, so they can keep the majority of their squad fit. I think they're going to be tough for anyone to go third, Liverpool. Top two, then obviously I've left it for the usual suspects, Arsenal and Man City, and it is in that order. Second place, I'm going with Arsenal again, and top place, Man City. I just think as long as Pep is at City, he's a genius. It's hard for anyone to go up against him and win. Arteta has done a good job the last 2 seasons of sort of battling them, but ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes to it and when it matters, Pep comes out on top. And I see it no different this year. I would prefer Arsenal to win, which they've always been United's main rivals in my eyes, because that's what I grew up on. I think Arsenal are getting better, but when it matters, like I said, they just can't seem to get ahead of City. So they're going to have a good season again. They'll look to have a really good run in the Champions League again. But I think they'll win the FA Cup or the Carabao maybe, but I can't see them winning the Champions League yet. They could get to the semis maybe, but again, they struggle with the pressure. I don't think they're far off, but they're yet to break that barrier. So Arsenal second place for me, and as I said, first place Manchester City. The depth in their squad they've got, the quality they've got, Pep's tactics and just his genius that is him really has changed football. I don't know how long he's got left at City, but he's going to want to win another title at least if he does go after this year. And I don't think it'll be the only trophy he wins again this year. So, bit boring for the first place. I know I didn't want to put them first, but I went with my head and not my heart. Manchester City first place. So that is it, guys, for my Premier League predictions table for the new season. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know who your team is and where you think they'll finish. And I'll see you soon.